turn it to Roger. I'm going to mute myself.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Can you all hear me pretty well? We had some problems last year. Adrian, you can hear me okay? Okay, so good. So we're okay now. Thanks, Judith, for the beautiful meditation. This is always one of my favorite poems. He incorporated a shorter poem into this poem. And the shorter one was called The Earth is Waiting for You. And when we used to recite that at Cloud Cottage, sometimes we'd read it before doing walking meditation. And it really sort of opened up my awareness back then. This is probably 2009 or something, of the depth of Thay's devotional practice. And I'd always been taught through Japanese Zen that devotion means one with, and we talk about atonement as at one-ment, so the practice of confessing and repenting. But Thay opened up some stuff for me, realizing that we are, like Judith said, that we're made of that devotion, we're made of that. We're constructed in the way to seek the true nature of what we actually are, or that we actually are is more accurate, I think, because we don't really know in our thinking mind what it is. But the depth of that, the depth of that shared being. One of my other teachers, Reb Anderson, who's also a very enlightened, very, very clear-minded and deeply devoted teacher. He said that, in our dedication and commitment to the Bodhisattva path of wanting to save all beings, he said that what actually saves all beings is the understanding of our intimate relationship with all sentient beings. So this whole path is the recognition, the exploration, and the discovery of our shared being. In the spirit of the Buddha, of his generosity, his patience, his compassion, and his love is so deeply expressed in so many ways. And Thay has, in his process of looking deeply, he's explored so many different ways we can express it and live it, and share it with each other. Earth is always waiting for us, and so what became clear to me when I heard this poem the first time is that he's talking about Mother Earth, but not as the earth as something outside, as a physical object, as a material object. It's the expression of our intimate being, our whole being. It's the expression of the mother of all creation. And it's our ultimate support, which is our actual experience. The earth is always here supporting us, our way of receiving the sunlight, and we get nourished through the earth in the earth's different, manifestations in terms of food and energy and light and heat. So it's all one process, and we hear that so many times, so many times over the years we'll hear that. And, when people ask me, sometimes the question comes up, how do we actually live that realization of our oneness? And I think Thay really does a good job of clarifying, that looking deeply is, allowing the depths of our being to surface. And the depths of our being, unfortunately or fortunately, they do consist of a lot of deep conditioning that we are this separate being, and that we feel isolated and we feel cut off from that understanding of the intimacy of the relationship that we have with all sentient beings. But, you know, more and more I find that I'm compelled to question deeply on an ever deepening level, you know, our assumptions of being this separate person. And more, these assumptions don't really amount to anything. You know, it's like that line, that kind of invisible line that we have that separates us from the outside world. What's it made of? Nothing ever happens. It's our actual experience that nothing ever happens outside our awareness. You know, and we kind of tend to, those of us who have at least been able to ask that question and contemplate it, will oftentimes turn away from it and ignore it and turn it into beliefs. But beliefs don't really help us. Beliefs are when we attach to our thoughts, kind of grasp our thoughts, and then try to solidify them into a series of thoughts that we use to reinforce our conceptual structure of being a separate being. And when we really kind of get that on a gut level, it's really frustrating, you know. Judith and I were in a group with our friend Larry. I think Lori knows Larry from Cloud Cottage. And he put up, you know, he has his own group, and he put up a saying about Mara. Mara is the Buddhist version of Satan, of the Christian, you know, in Christianity has Satan, Buddhism has Mara. So Mara is like the head demon. And so Mara was walking along with one of his attendants, you know, the apostate of hell or whatever. And he says, "Oh, great evil one." He says, "Oh, great evil one. When these human beings are walking along and they see a stone in the road, what are they seeing?" So, you know, even Mara's attendant is questioning reality, right? And Mara says, "A piece of truth." And he goes, "They're getting a piece of truth. Doesn't that disturb you, oh, evil one, that they're learning the truth?" And he goes, "No, because they almost always turned it into a belief." So I'm thinking, wow, Mara's pretty wise, you know. He knows what's going on. So he's pretty wily. He knows all the tricks that Buddha can try, and he throws up all these roadblocks. But you know, one of the getting back to touching the earth, one of the more powerful stories for me, or the versions of Buddha's great enlightenment, was that he was sitting on the earth, you know, under the Bodhi tree, and had really, you know, deeply absorbed, allowed himself to receive the spirit of the Buddha in Mother Earth as his ultimate stability and support. And so when he realized his great enlightenment and the light dawned on him that he had totally dissolved all obstructions, he touched the earth as a testament to his great enlightenment. So he touched the earth, and then Mara came and started slinging all these arrows of poison, you know, delusions, desires, fears, and countless numbers of arrows were slung into the air to come and attack the Buddha sitting under the Bo tree. And Buddha looked up at them and he reaffirmed his touching the earth as his ultimate testament, and they all turned into flowers and floated down to the earth and dissolved on the earth, you know. And I thought, did Buddha take psychedelics? The first time I read that, I thought, well, what's that all about? But but anyway, I mean, yeah, it's that stability. And, you know, in my thinking mind, I think, well, I've sort of realized over and over again that line separating us from reality it's only made of thought. Like Zen Master Joko Beck would say that, what is thought? So we need to really deeply explore our experience of thinking, and there's just impersonal energy fragments is all it really is. So if we commit to the process of not grasping our thoughts and not turning away from them, then we get that stability that Buddha's talking about and Tai is talking about. We gradually absorb the stability and the freedom and the love of, as we're receiving the very nature of our true nature. So as we receive that, there's that spontaneous recognition of our shared being, because we all, the evidence of our shared being is so strong in so many different ways. I mean, we all have that experience of it just being here and now, and we've all wondered about infinity of space. We've all suffered quite a bit, and we've all had these fears and desires. So there's these currents of energy, the impersonal fragments of energy, but they really reflect our shared being in so many ways if we're willing to receive the love and support of our true nature. We offer all of our experience back to the Buddhas. Reb also said that Buddhas are always thinking. They're always thinking, how can I lead all beings to happiness? And so that kind of discursive thought is always present, but it doesn't disturb doesn't disturb Buddha's or Bodhisattva's deep tranquility, because they, instead of grasping the thoughts, they calmly offer them as gifts. So that's using our energy of thought rather than being used by it, rather than trying to grasp it or turn away from it. And that opens up the deep devotion. It opens up our awareness on a deeper level, that we do share this very nature. And the deeper we go in receiving this, the nature of our true nature, it becomes intuitively more powerful to see that it's never veiled. Our nature is never veiled. I was listening to Rupert Spira. He said, and a young woman asked him, please name the 5 most powerful beliefs that veil our true nature from us. And I was like, whoa, I'm glad I'm not there trying to answer that one, So what he said, well, there's only one. And that belief is the belief that our true nature can be veiled. And I thought, without that belief, where's the veiling, The here and now has never been affected by beliefs or thought energy, or even on a deeper level, even by the energy of our sensations. It all blends together at some level. And having said that, I know I still have a long way to go in living that on ever deepening levels, but the inspiration of the Sangha has really helped me, and so I feel committed to helping us all on our way. So thank you. Okay, you can unmute now, Judith. There you go.
I just did.
Yeah.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. When I think about your way of teaching, I always think of open arms and welcoming. That you always say the universe, the cosmos welcomes us, the earth welcomes us. Mm-hmm. So here at Narrow Ridge, where I live, we stopped saying the earth, and I catch myself doing it so as not to objectify earth. So we leave out. When we had a day of mindfulness here, our director asked, the name of the day of mindfulness was Touching the Earth. And she asked if we could leave out the V and call it Touching Earth. And I think that's something for all of us to think about, because that's just one little separation that we make, you know.
Yeah.
And I still do it, I know, but I attempt not to. So thank you so much, Roger. And let's hear from everybody today. We have time. Should I ask you a searing question that you can answer, or would you just prefer to reflect on the meditation and the Dharma talk, or anything else that's going on? Any preference? Lori?
Ask your question.
Yeah, why don't you ask your question, and then we can decide whether we want to answer it or to talk about.
Oh, all right. I do not have a planned question, so I'm going to think of it right now. How did it feel to be addressed as my child? Mary Jo?
Mary Jo, you muted yourself. You were unmuted, then you muted yourself.
Now you can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm sorry. I am more in the listening and absorbing mode this morning. So I'm going to pass and let others speak, but it's very helpful. Thank you.
Just call on everybody, and let's begin with Kat, who's next to me on my screen. Kat, I can't hear you.
Let's see. Can you hear me now?
There.
Okay. I just needed to hold my phone closer, I think, to my mouth. It's just really nice to be back on the mat. It's been a minute. I did some yoga over the holidays, but I wasn't able, we didn't have our swim car. I wasn't able to be at it. So it's just really nice to be back here and doing the practice. So first of all, thank you. And I think that I realized that I've been doing a lot of hard work this past year, especially with my diagnosis, just sort of waiting for the other shoe to drop. And this idea of just being a child in a mother's arms, I think is really helpful. Just like giving yourself up to something is just really, really lovely. And I also think that this idea of touching earth is not what you feel. Giving yourself up to something larger, and the moments where I have felt connected and most whole, I think, have often been when I've been, even though Roger was talking about it not being separate, being our true nature rather than the physicality necessarily. Or I think that physicality of the earth is a portal to that connection, and so I enjoy it a lot. It's really nice and a good way to start 2022. So, thank you.
Thank you, Kat.
Thank you, Kat. Yeah, for me, it's like, I was realizing that we're always a child on this path, no matter how far we think we've come. I mean, maybe when you start, our awareness is this narrow, and then maybe it gets this narrow after 20 years or after 40 years. But, the realm of childhood is like way beyond anything we can see. We'll always be a child as long as we're in a physical body. As long as we're humans, we'll always be a child.
Well, you used to say that tenderness and what was the other word? Now I just lost it. Innocence, tenderness, and innocence were the hallmarks of the practice, or something. He said something like that, but he used those two words a lot. And when I get into my child, when I feel my child self, there's something so untrampled about it, you know. And the way Ty words it in the poem is just comforting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So how about Georgiana?
Thank you so much for the presentation. I'm hearing some static there. It was really beautiful. I think, yeah, definitely the term child is very endearing, and we're all, you know, I agree. We have we're always a child inside, and you know, it's like we're all these things that we, but I agree with the idea that you know, I guess when we talk about mother and child, is sort of a special connection also of creation and life, and like Roger said, you know, everything that we need for survival is provided when we're children by our mother. And but I especially also the part of, you know, the branches and trees. It's like that interconnectivity with environment that we actually are, and we forget, you know, that we're the same, and we're out of all these things around it. I think it's very solid. I hate to use the word solidifying, but it's it just gives us perspective, I guess, in terms of you know, what we are, our spaciousness, and yet, you know, we're living this solid earth, or apparently solid earth. Anyway, I just it's really beautiful, and for me, I think when it comes down to, you know, being one, you know, the connectivity with other people and with all beings and so forth is sort of the one thing that it just keeps me going, because you know, we get bombarded with so many things, and like you know, in the case with Mara, with all this truth and beliefs and concepts and things that come in our direction, and that we're attached to. Anyway, yeah, I'll leave it as that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Georgina. I think Georgina was trying to say what I didn't say, but yeah, like being a child in the context of Ty's teaching, for me, it's like, you know, he talks of the welcoming of our true nature is always welcoming and open-hearted. I feel much more welcomed as a child, you know, and as a child, thinking about our mothers, when we're a child, we don't have to earn that welcoming. At least when we're a small child and we're too young to screw it up. We don't have to earn that welcoming. It's totally unconditional.
Right. So let's hear from Adrian, Lori, and Norma. One of you can check in. Don't be shy.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Lori, it's really nice to see you here this morning. So, I just love the idea of thinking of myself as a child and my connection to my mother and also to Earth. And I spent a lot of time in the summertime connecting Earth after leaving New York City with the hard streets and no greenery anywhere around where I lived. And it was really important to me. I used to love to garden upstate New York in the summer with Dunya, who was a Russian immigrant. And also I was thinking that yesterday, my younger daughter moved back to Asheville, and my Dale and Sharon and I just spent a few hours together yesterday, having lunch and doing a little shopping. None of us bought anything, but we just had fun. And then we went to the bookstore and sat and talked, and the three of us love books. So it was really sweet. But what came about was my daughter was asking me about my mother, and of course, they didn't know my mother when she was young. So they were asking me about that, and it was just so sweet to remember that and to remember the tenderness and the innocence that I had, and it was just very precious. So this was really a very beautiful thing to think about this morning, and I really appreciate the poem, the words, and just the lesson of always remembering that. Just trying to keep that innocence in a way, and to touch Earth more and more. So, thank you.
Beautiful, thank you.
Yes, please, Adrian.
I was going to say that before Norma talked, I did sign on too to say that here two people spoke. I didn't understand with clarity your opening statement. So Judy, would you give me your opening statement one more time? So and then two people spoke at length about it, and I knew that I did not have the depth of understanding that everyone else seemed to have. And now that was also done too with Norma. So Judy, would you read your opening statement to me one more time, and let's see if I can relate to it in a way where I can make an actual comment.
I don't know what my opening statement was. Actually,
no, what we're just all responding to about a child, something you were a child.
How did it feel to be addressed as a child?
Yeah. That's in the poem. Yeah. There are two places in the poem, well, more than that, but my child, one was my child, why don't you sit down? Here's the foot of a tree, remember that? And then...
But I'm just commenting on what people are responding to, what the opening statement you just made just prior to people talking, because I knew that I didn't understand it with clarity, and yet everyone else seemed to understand it with clarity. That's why I wanted to hear it again. The last words that you spoke at the very end, introducing complicated. So
I remember it.
I like being a child.
Was it?
It was.
How did it feel to be addressed as my child
That's what
in the poem?
Yeah.
How does it feel to exist like that? And I reflected on the statement, and I realized that I had no understanding of it. Like, when was I? Is what people are responding to that they remember being a child? Is the point? Is that correct? They remember being a child.
It's the line in the poem, a couple of lines in the poem where the Buddha is calling the readers, calling us his child. He says, "My child, the empty path welcomes you, my child. Do go back to earth, my child. My child, why don't you sit down?" So for me, that was it was a comforting idea that I'm the Buddhist child. I don't think of it that way.
And it's interesting how clear it is to everyone else. It is not at all clear to me. I just haven't got a sense of a sensation I might have to feel like I'm the Buddhist child, or even to feel like I'm a child. Like remembering my mother. I was close to my family. I very close family, at least in my view. Both my mother and my father, and close. But remembering what it feels like as a child, I have zero memory of it. I'm the oldest child. Maybe that relates to that, because I don't know. I was the first one to be born. I'm the oldest of three. But anyway, I thank everybody for their comments, and I profoundly apologize for not having any comments of my own. But I don't know how to apply that to a feeling that I could then share, because I just didn't know how to resonate it. But I thank you for that. So I just want to thank everyone else for their wisdom and their insight, and thank you a lot. And my apologies for my not having any. I was going to do what Mary Jo did at first too, but I decided to be candid to say that actual reason. But so
yeah.
Anyway, happy New Year to everyone, and thank you for more comments. And one more from Lori.
Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you, Adrian. Here you go, Lori.
Hello, everyone. It's so good to be back here again with you all. See you, and I think the universe was operating here, because the poem and Roger's comments were exactly what I needed right now. But to answer your question, Judith, my first knee-jerk reaction about being called my child is I am the youngest of six children, and my oldest sister calls me baby constantly, and I dislike it very much. I always have. And so my child, I just, but that passed very quickly. And to me, being a child of the Buddha or a child of the universe is an incredibly comforting feeling. So after I got over my reaction of being the baby of the family, it just felt wonderful. And I realized that I need to do more meditation like this with our Earth Mother, and feeling the groundedness and stability that came from it today. And I think just the last few years of COVID and our news cycle, politics and climate change and women's rights, it's just hit me so deeply, and I feel like this poem and Roger's words sort of made me feel like I came down from the thunderclouds swirling around and brought me back very grounded to earth and stable and solid. And I always feel more connected to everyone and the whole universe when I'm out in nature and walking amongst trees and sitting on the earth. But I don't know why today, but it just was so wonderful that I made the connection that this is exactly what I need, is more meditations like this to, you know, yeah, it was terrific. And I think too, I have friends that regenerate or refuel by being around people, and I refuel by being in solitude. And I haven't had that much with COVID and then my husband retiring, and I love him to death, but I have no solitude pretty much. And this meditation of working with just being able to feel that groundedness and that oneness with everyone else, it just brings me that refueling that I got from solitude. So I thank you both very much. It was just, like I said, exactly what I need. And I think every single meditation I do for the it's just going to be more using nature, the universe, earth, and the unconditional love that you feel from, or that I feel from being a child of the universe. And knowing that brings me into feelings of not being separate and being one with everyone. So thank you all very much.
Yeah, thank you, Lori. I'm also like you in that way. I get refueled from the solitude, but gradually,
So,
I think we. I was gonna. Could I just finish for a second?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say, gradually, it shifts. I think Lori was saying this too. That it shifts from loneliness to aloneness in the bigger sense, and that opens up feeling the importance of realizing what we actually are, and then that opens up, as Lori was saying, opens up the recognition of our shared being and the more ability to share that, and there's less, we become refueled from being with others more, so that process goes on too. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Roger. We're about 8 minutes over time. We might want to consider extending the time. I don't know. But I wanted to ask you, Lori, if you've ever heard of that old Zen saying, I married you for better or for worse, but not for lunch.
Not for lunch.
Okay. I know how that goes. I remember when Philip retired. So we're going to close with Norma's chanting of the sharing of the merit. Do you have a bell today, Norma? Unmute yourself, Norma.
I'm sorry, I don't. I meant to, but I didn't get to it.
Okay, so thank you all so much for being here. I really love you. This was a great meeting this morning.
May the merit of this practice benefit all beings and bring peace.
Thank you all. Thank you, Norma. I love you.
Love you all. Have a
See
great
you
week.
next week.
Take care.
Have a good week, everybody. Bye.
Enjoy your breathing.
Happy childhood.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Happy.